This looks like right there. That looks good.
And with that, we're going to say welcome to In the Back. I'm not even going to do my normal little dance or anything like that because that was everything you need. If you're an audio listener, you are so utterly confused right now. But we have a special setup today because I'm in Lynch, Vegas.
That's right.
He is here. He has arrived.
I feel like if I'm going to... I probably should think about what nickname I want to throw to Lynchburg, because if I'm going to latch onto something, I probably need to latch onto the Berg. Is the ideal start. Anyways, we're here. It's going to be great. I just got here last night, so stoked to be here. And we have a very special guest in Trevor Staub.
Here, I'm back. Episode number 2.
Highly requested.
Bag has changed considerably since the first time I was on the show.
Yeah, because of In the Bag, because you watch
That's
every
right.
week and
Well, actually, because of In the Bag last time, I put a bear in my bag and I hated it.
Honestly?
No, and okay, let me be clear. I didn't hate the disc. It just didn't do what I needed it to.
I will tell you from experience, when I tried the bear, it was also not great. So
I liked the disc. Let me be clear. It just wasn't what I needed it to be.
That's fair.
That's all.
Fair.
It's a good. I thought it was a good disc.
So if you're listening to In the Bag, the disc we recommend is not going to work for you.
Yes.
For several people, that is the case. But for several people, it does work extremely well. So we're going to see. I would say we're 50-50. And so now with you being in your second shot, if we do ever recommend something, it's going to be...
Yeah, it'll stick.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's going to be fantastic. Are y'all getting... We'll get this, I guess, as a little teaser for what's new in the warehouse. But like... They're having those like Opto ice bears.
Oh,
We got them over.
We got them.
now. Yep.
Yeah. They look so good.
They feel incredible.
They're
I don't know
very
if they have a spot in my bag either, Trevor, but they feel great.
Well, the last time I threw it, I was trying to squeeze it into I had a much more refined bag than I do right now, to where there wasn't a lot of gaps, and I needed it to be a bit more stable than it was. And it was close. It was very close. Just wasn't quite stable enough. Went up to Pennsylvania to Fairway Lake and turned it over about 3 times too many.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's tough. You know it's not tough?
Ooh.
Double G Craft Jerky.
Wow, that was an incredible segue. Yeah, today's episode is sponsored by friends over at Double G Craft Jerky. You know, they're one of my favorites. They've got amazing flavors such as hot boom sauce, garlic lover's dream, Nate Sexton sweet and spicy. That's their best seller. McBeast barbecue, original smash crack pepper teriyaki, Paul's max weight original, which they actually write is a little more tender than the original. Which that I don't even know if I've had the max weight flavor yet, but I might have to give it a try as I
Turn the air down.
turn off the AC like mid podcast. Anyways, Double G Jerky is always a big supporter of Foundation. We love them. They make delicious jerky. They also, part of their proceeds go to Double G Children's Foundation. Every bag sold contributes to the promotion of disc golf to the youth. They buy discs and baskets for inner city children, have donated thousands to family in need of money for events. Also, if you're a tournament director listening here, they offer 1 ounce bags. Those are a huge hit for player packs because that is an amazing player pack item in a 1 ounce bag there. They also sell hats. I'm not wearing my hat right now. I'm in trouble. But I'm wearing their hat almost all the time. If you see any of the West Coast videos, I'm always wearing their hat. And you can get those on the site too. They also do subscriptions. If you are a lover of Double G Jerky and you want it sent to you every month, you can do 3, 6, or 12 months options with as many bags as you would like. It's very customizable. They also do gift cards. It's a great gift to get somebody so they can pick out their own jerky flavors. I tell you this because you can get 10% off with code Foundation. The link is in the description. Make sure to check it out. Double G Craft Jerky.
Great.
It's delicious.
Yeah, it is.
We should invent their catchphrase. Double G Craft Jerky. It tastes so good, you will play better at disc golf.
Yeah, I think that's already the catchphrase.
Okay.
So that's good to know. Well, Trevor, you said you changed a lot on your bag since we last spoke. Why don't you walk us through what's really changed?
Okay. Well, I know for certain that I would imagine my putting putters have probably changed. Yeah, that's new. Putting putters have probably, I think the last time I was still putting with Steady.
Yeah, I think it was near end of here last year.
Since then, I've gone to Rainmakers, and I've gone from the last year, the 2022 Rainmakers, to these 2023 ones. And these ones are way better. The 2022s were, and I think it's mostly placebo, but for whatever reason, the 2022s were so dense and heavy. The color glow D-line ones that they're making now, And they also just sent me some lighter weights too, like 173 instead of like 176. Because if you're looking for the heaviest putter, get these in a 176. They are bricks, but they will handle wind. But I have been loving the Rainmakers. I honestly I'm probably at my best putting. Certainly, circle like C1X putting is the best it's ever been.
Okay.
I find that these get to the basket without much issue. They can handle a little wind. They're not unforgiving on hyzer. Like they don't just tear left. They're great. I've really been enjoying the Rainmaker. But so that I think has changed since last time. Right now I do have this Envy in here. I don't know how long it'll be in here. I've been experimenting with the throwing putters. My throwing putters is chaos right now because I would kind of include my zones and slammers in that mix as well. And so like right now I've got this is the evolution of this. So for starters, I have always been a guy who like approaching is such an important part of disc golf. It is like it is so much more important than people give credit. So I have no problem putting discs in my bag that are specifically for very specific shots if I know I'm going to need that shot a lot.
Yeah.
For example, the slammer, I really only throw this on forehand shots, and I really only throw it for forehand approaches.
Okay.
Sometimes into rivers. This one came back to me, but the Zone OS is another one like that where like it's pretty niche, but there's nothing else that does this. So this is also kind of utility. This is where it gets a little fishy. So for the longest time, my preferred setup with putters, and I don't have I'm trying to prioritize space to my bag in other places right now, but my preferred setup with putters is typically, because I love throwing putters, is like a flippy one, a straight one, and an overstable one. Mm-hmm. Right now, there's not a flippy one. I am kind of just been trying to throw a mid in that place because I found myself not really throwing a flippy putter that much because hyzer flip putter shots is not something I reach for often. I am more likely to take a straight disc or slightly overstable disc like this MB and throw it on anhyzer, and guess what? It'll hold it. It'll hold it just fine. Totally. And I'm way more effective with that. And so I had a pure in my bag for the longest time. I was like, I'm just never throwing this disc.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I'm not a good hyzer flip player. So I was like, I don't think I need that slot right now. So what I did was I was like, okay, let's go with more of the straight to neutral disc, which this Envy is kind of like that. This Envy just goes dead straight. It also goes really far. I've typically kind of thrown a Judge in this slot. I think I might like the Judge better, but I've been giving this a try, and it's a good disc. The Envy is nice. The ESP Zone has changed everything for both me and Hunter. We've both been like loving this disc, and what it's doing for us is I had this long search for a overstable throwing putter. And it was the Sky God was the solution, but the problem is the Sky God beats in too quick. It's beadless.
That's fair.
And it's deep. It's not fun to throw, but it flies unlike anything else.
It's not comfortable.
I don't know what it led me to throwing an ESP Zone, but it's so amazing because what these discs do is you can throw, they're straighter than normal zones. So you can throw these hard and flat and they just push dead straight and then they always fade hard at the end.
Yeah.
Or you can throw those flex putter shots that I wanted with this disc. I don't know why I discriminated against it because it wasn't like a traditional putter because it works for what I need it to. And it's also great for straight forehands. So this disc gets thrown a ton. That's kind of my putter game right now is like overstable, just kind of straight putter shots. And then these are more utility where like if I ever can throw this disc on a forehand for my upshot, that's what I do. Occasionally a backhand, but very rarely. And then this is pretty much only coming out for wind, skip shots, or most of the time for flex, like really crazy flex utility shots. I don't know if the Zone OS will always be in my bag, but it's kind of fun. It was the new kid on the block.
Yeah.
And there are uses for it, but sometimes it can be a little difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there are several slots, I think, when you have something like a Zone OS in your bag, you have to decide moments of, am I forcing the Zone OS into this shot because it will be easier for me to mash on this and like let it flex out versus throwing maybe a more delicate just slammer shot or something like that. And everyone's going to view that slot differently. If you are a power thrower, you love throwing powerful, the Zone OS could have use for you in that slot. personal, like I have a Justice, but the Justice in the Zone OS, I feel like the difference is the Justice hits and skips. Like it does not sit at all. And the Zone OS feels like it does have a lot less volatile action once it lands.
Yeah, the Justice is pretty crazy. And like my whole bag, keep in mind, is constructed, and you can already tell with the overstability. My best angle is slight anhyzer. So that's why a Zone OS, I am pretty good at throwing like pull over anhyzer flex shots. I've already done that with this disc a number of times and giving it speed. The Envy, for example, on that line just kind of holds straight. So a lot of these discs you'll see, there are a few discs that I have in my bag that I will like throw hyzer flips with because I'm just not great at it. So the mids, this rock has been in here forever, has not changed. This AB Rock 3. It is seasoned to the point now where if I throw it flat and hard, it just kind of slowly turns and doesn't fade. I have started to get this to the point where if I want to get a dead straight flight, I have to give it like a baby hyzer, just a little bit. But if I'm throwing it, that's only if I'm throwing it really hard. If I'm throwing it like normal mid range, I can still just get a dead straight, and it just doesn't fade. It's incredible. But it is starting to maybe create a gap where I need something above that and before this disc. This is new to my bag. This is the DGA Quake. I can't speak highly enough of the DGA Quake because
with an incredible stamp too.
It's when I saw this stamp, I was like, I got to figure out how to get this in my bag. It's got the Midnight Flyer on there, but it wasn't difficult because I was messing around with a lot of discs. I wanted something less stable than like a Zone, but enough that I like to be able to like take a stable disc and crank over on it on just a little bit of anhyzer to where it just pans to the right, almost dead straight, and then falls. And this disc, I was throwing a Wasp for that slide. I know, and like a stock Wasp gets that job done. It does. But the Quake, I think, is more comfortable. It's such a unique feeling disc, and it goes a little further. And I just love it. And it's been working so well for me. So this disc, if I give it hyzer, it holds. But what I really like doing it is throwing it super hard and flat and just watching it go straight, but knowing it's not going to turn over and then it'll fade hard at the end. And that's been very useful.
I threw the Quake a few weeks ago for in the bag, and I really, really liked it because it reminded me a lot of my Nebula. And the Nebula is like not super easy to find other than the Ledgestone waves. And like it made me feel good knowing that like the Quake was a good substitute for that slot. That I could just easily grab if I needed to.
Yeah, the Quake run. It's a stock disc. And I get very excited when I find a stock mold that I'm like, this is readily available and it's super good. So into the flippier stuff, I have this Z Buzz. It's been in my bag for a while now. I found this as a used disc, and it's what made me like actually want to throw a Buzz because new Buzzes are not that exciting to me. They're just kind of stable. This Buzz, I can throw this on hyzer and pop it up to flat. I can throw it flat and get a nice big turnover. It goes super, super far. So this is kind of a workable disc. And then one that I just put in my bag because I had a really beat up rock that I broke on a tree in Las Vegas. So I needed a new like really flippy disc, and I put this Finish Line Supra in my bag, and this is flippier than the Buzz, and I think it'll continue to work in. Like right now, I can pop it over pretty easily. It's flippier in the sense, especially that if it gets to anhyzer, it doesn't want to come out, whereas the Buzz kind of still has that history. I've been liking the Supra. I think it'll fit fine in this slot for my understable. So that's the mids. I have simplified to make up for the fact that the approach discs and putters is a little bit crazy.
So I wanna sit here for a second and kind of talk through, because often, I mean, I connect more with Hunter in terms of like I am a hyzer player. My natural release is a little bit of hyzer. So for my flippy slot, we have to have something that is much flippier.
Now though I am not a hyzer flip player, these discs are almost always released on hyzer.
Okay. So
this one, the only reason they won't be released on hyzer. Now, I'm still the type of guy to where if I'm throwing a left to right shot, I prefer to throw it flat. And this Buzz has enough stability that I can do that. But if I'm trying to get a lot of times for the Buzz or for this disc where I'm trying to get something that just like pans to the right, especially this one, this is going to be released on hyzer most of the time. So I do get to a point with my disc where it's like really flippy discs, they almost have to be.
Yeah.
but it's definitely not my strength.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to wonder is on that slide. Yeah. Is it a lot more of hold and neutral? My question in the putters is, and I'm never going to try to talk someone out of a precious disc because, I get it. I'm there. I have several.
Yeah.
So Brooksy Slammer.
Yes.
Super solid. When you throw it on forehands, have you ever tried like a jawbreaker zone or something in that slot?
Yeah. So I used to have a soft X zone that was amazing. I got it as a used disc. This is back like when I first joined Foundation, and we actually did like a Play It Again sports challenge or something. And I found it there, and it was so good that it was in my bag the whole time when I was throwing like just Discraft. The reason why I opt for, because I have other good zones that are beat in, and I like the feel of the zone more than a lot of things. The Slammer I find is a lot more really floaty and slow.
Okay.
A lot of the shots that I throw with the Slammer are like 100 to 150 feet where I'm trying to throw touchy, turny shots. The zones would work, but they can get further past the basket than I'd like. That's
totally.
Yeah. I almost like the idea that and I kind of like the thumb track too. I won't lie.
Thumb track life is the best life.
It's one of those things that it works for me. And because as long as I'm not deciding not to throw it near a river, it's pretty hard to lose it. Yeah. I've kind of stuck with it, but yeah. And it's a brand thing.
Hey.
To some extent, it's become a part of it's definitely become a part of the brand.
Yeah. I trust me. There are I've thrown the Toro now several times. And I think the Toro is an amazing disc.
Yeah.
But this is the first place that I publicly said that, because I know that if Robbie C decided to stop throwing pigs,
it would be anarchy.
People would be upset. Honestly, I would too. It is one of those, I throw it for a little bit and I'm like, oh, this was fun. But it's like vacation and never feels as good as your own home.
That's right.
Yeah. The thing about the zone is, and I've described the zone before as a lot of people love the zone for approaches, but I've always believed the zone flies like a proper 4-speed. And if you want to include 4-speeds in putters, that's completely cool. But I think that's what's interesting here is that I would initially look at your mid-range setup and be like, 4 seems on the lighter side. But thinking about the fact that the zone and the zone OS can also slot, and the zone, it sounds like I throw like a mid anyway.
This ESP zone is really sits as the most stable part of this collection, because I throw this, if I have a 300-foot hyzer, I can throw this disc flat and get it there. It goes far. I went away from the zone for a while, but I always find myself coming back. It is very tough to beat.
And I'll be the friend in your ear. You throw judges so well, and I feel like it's a relationship that you're constantly trying to get away from.
You're not the first person to tell me that. I don't honestly. So what happened was, when we went to the West Coast, I brought a confetti judge with me.
Okay.
Brand new. It was one of the Rathbun confetti judges. The one I had in my bag previously was a Lucid Ice one that I was really rocking with. And I was like, let me throw in, I think I lost it. And I was like, let me throw in this confetti one. And it was flippy. Pretty much from the get-go, I had to throw hyzer flips with it. You'll see some clips of me throwing it on the trip as they come out. And it's pretty hilarious because people were begging me not to throw it. So that created a bit of a rift.
That's fair.
It created an opportunity is what it did. Because the thing about the judges, not all judges are created equal when it comes to stability. I've had success with a good many, but then there are some that just really don't do what I need them to. So I was like, let me try the Envy. My biggest qualm with the Envy, and probably why I won't stick around, is because it goes too far. It goes as far as the mid-range. I cannot keep it near baskets.
That's fair.
So it's I think I probably will try and track down that Lucid Judge that I had, or I still have some on my shelf that are pretty good.
We had Orbit Fusion Judges that were really wonderful. That if you've not seen those, and y'all
the first judge I was really good with was a Fusion Judge. It was an Emerson Keith's Foundation stamped one from 2019. And I still have that one, but Hunter Sharpied all over it because I lost a bet or something like that.
Okay. So. I think throw it. I'm the same with you, Trevor. My Zone OS, I have it in my bag, but it kind of fits in the mid-range category for me, just because I need something like soup. Because I'll throw that, and I feel like I have to throw it so hard that I need like some freedom and some distance and some area and like putters I usually go to for more like touchy, precise shots. So my Zone OS actually comes to the top end of my stability for my mid ranges as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I like zones. I don't like throwing touchy shots with zones very much. I like throwing them hard because I think they're super useful when you do.
Yeah, I agree.
They light hard off.
Okay, so let's move to fairways because
It's gonna be dicey.
I was going to say when you sent me the list of your bag,
It's pretty gross.
the fairways were where I was
It's troubling.
hot, like
Fairways are troubling right now,
All
and
right.
they have been for a while. Mostly because I'm just missing certain slots, and I have like the West Coast trip did not help either. Yeah, so I'll just kind of pull them out of here. I've got more fairways than I've ever had. Let me replace some discs. I've got some weight in my bag here. I've got more fairways than I've probably had in a long time because I don't throw fairways a ton, but I've started to kind of like get used to it a little bit more. First, the Z Extreme, it sits in the top slot of my bag. It's completely a utility disc. I don't throw it very often, but for some reason, and this is why the Zone OS will probably stick around. For some reason, I cannot be without that disc that is just stupidly overstable. And it's for the purpose of scrambling. Like for the purposes, I can get in the woods in doubles or whatever and be like, I have a disc that I can hit that line on crazy knifing Anheuser and it will come out of it. And that's why I have this disc right now. There is some serious overlappage going on in the overstable part of my fairways, as you will come to find out. But that is why this one is here, is because there are just certain shots that like you can only do with discs like this.
Yeah.
But the problem is I also have two other overstable discs. I have this Phoenix from Mint that I've really been liking. And then I have this Sexton Firebird that I kind of just threw in there. I'm not really sure why. And the idea in theory, all of these discs do accomplish different things slightly. Now, the Extreme is the most overstable. The Phoenix is slightly less overstable, but it's actually a little bit quicker and more overstable than the Sexton. So they do technically all accomplish different things, but probably one of them has to go. But it doesn't really get much better as we keep going down the fairways. I don't even know, like, if I were to actually think about, like, what part of this fairway lineup is organized, it's really, like, just these three. Or, like, if you added, like, I don't even know. So, like, the other disc I have this Z Stalker. I've had this for a while. It hyzer flips to flat, kind of. But the real reason it's in there is because I lost my, like, precious red Stalker. That's what really started this whole thing. Like a year ago, maybe I lost my red Stalker by leaving it in field, and I had it since 2013. And so it was like the best thing ever. It was such a good hyzer flip disc, and so I love the Stalker so much. So I'm probably gonna force myself to keep this in the bag because I just need that. I need a Stalker to be flippy again. So the problem is right now I don't really have a flippy fairway, and it's really hurting my game. This Star TL3 I picked up on the West Coast because I lost both my FD and another flippy drive. I had no flippy fairways. Like the flippiest fairway I had was like this T-Bird that isn't flippy. So I had to like find something. This does hyzer flip, but it's still not super flippy. Like it doesn't flip to turn. So these discs are probably very similar. This one probably kicks out this one eventually. These fairways are really, I would say these two and like the Phoenix are the only ones I'm like really certain about. This Swirl Star T-Bird is incredible because for my like slight Anheuser release that I like, this will just go like dead straight with maybe a little turn. It does super good on an Anheuser. It does super good on a hyzer.
Yeah.
It goes dead straight. This T-Bird is amazing.
Like when people describe, the T-Bird is one of the straightest. This actually is.
Yes, it's amazing. And then this is the Honor from Latitude 64. Also amazing. I had an Eagle and this in my bag at the same time. That was definitely redundant. I lost the Eagle at Fountain Hills. So that worked out because the Honor is a little bit faster, but similar. It has nice stability. You can throw forehands with this. You can flex it. Every time I throw it, I underestimate how stable it is, but it's great. The Honor, the T-Bird, those are like locks. I'm going to try and keep the Stalker in, but the rest of this is just, it's a brouhaha is what it is.
Okay.
It's really bad. I'm embarrassed to look at it.
So my two questions. One, did you and Hunter calculate how many discs you lost on the West Coast?
Yeah, it's not that many. I mean, I lost an FD. I lost an Eagle. That rock broke. So I mean, that's a loss. And then beyond that,
Your slammer, but you got
the
it.
slammer
Lost the same.
got it back. And I think the last one for me was a Renegade that I got at a shop in Arizona and then threw it without knowing how it flew. And then, so like, that's not really a loss. Like,
Yeah.
it was just my first throw of the disc. So really I think I really only lost like 4 discs that I cared any amount about. It wasn't too bad. I lost, the slammer was in Idaho. I lost 2 at Fountain Hills. What was the other? Yeah, that Renegade and the Eagle and the FD. I don't remember where I lost that one. So yeah, there were some losses. There wasn't anything too critical though.
Yeah.
I managed to hold on to my distance drivers.
Okay. So if the Stalker and the TL3 are similar,
Yeah,
and you want the
that's-
Stalker, this feels so simple. Like,
Yeah,
That's gone.
that's a pretty easy kick out.
so let's talk shots,
Mm-hmm.
because I think that's probably the better way to diagnose it.
Yeah.
Is if you had to throw a blank shot, what are you throwing there?
Yes.
Because so like fairway distance, what would you say like is usual backhand fairway distance before you decide, hey, I gotta pump up to? Obviously the shape of the fairway can determine this and whatnot, but
Yeah.
like typical distance.
If it was open and I knew I could throw it as hard as I wanted to throw it, I could get up to like 375, maybe 380 before I'm like, yeah, I probably should disc up.
Okay. So 375, 380, and then where is like the mid-range cutoff?
Mid cutoff is probably like 340. Yeah, if it's dead straight away, like I might try to pump up to like 350, but yeah, probably like 340.
Okay. And then forehands?
Forehand's not going any further. If it's a like 320-foot hole, I'll try and get a forehand there, but my forehand only really goes like 300 feet max.
Okay. And that's with distance drivers?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't really, yeah.
So that helps answer a lot of this. So these Sextons, Schrader, still overstable, but straight.
Only throw forehands with this disc.
Okay. Perfect. But Phoenix, you throw backhand and forehand?
Only throw backhands. See, that's the biggest difficulty is the Phoenix. This plastic, I like Eternal Plastic. However, for my slippery hands, it does not work for me on a forehand. I can't trust it. Backhand, not a problem. Forehand, that is where I like this chalky Glow Champion. So that's where, and also, frankly, this is just too overstable for my forehand. My backhand just outmatches my forehand by so much that, yeah, I don't throw forehands with this disc. I throw backhands with it. Usually that's like, this is like a backhand hyzer type disc.
Have you tried throwing this on backhand hyzer?
So I used to throw, I have not really had a chance to throw this one a ton at all yet. I used to have a Sexton in my bag that I did throw backhands with because it was seasoned in and it really flew just kind of like an Eagle does. Honestly, if I had to guess, I would say this on a backhand isn't that much different than an Honor.
That was going to be my question.
I got to be honest with you. Now that I'm thinking about it, I don't even know if this on a forehand is that much different than an Honor for my arm speed.
Yeah.
That's the crisis.
Do you throw the Honors on forehand?
I do. Yeah. Because the thing is, when you don't have that much arm speed, discs don't fly that different on forehands unless you get real flippy with it.
That's fair. That's fair. So
I might be having a revelation.
So this could be on the chopping block.
I think it should be probably.
Extreme, we'll just go ahead and put back there. That's
I
fine.
do throw forehands with that.
Yeah.
Like I said, that's a very trick shotty type disc.
And as someone who plays more doubles than I would say most human beings in the country, other than your doubles partner, then I feel like having that, knowing how your initial description of it tells me everything I need to know, which was, okay, when I'm on doubles and I know that I have to hit this line, like that was your first description of it, that makes sense.
It's a time and a
You need to
place
have
type
that.
disc. Yeah.
So
I could throw more.
with, okay, so let's say you're stepping up. It's about 360 feet. You've got to throw a backhand hyzer. What are you going
It's a
to?
wide open field.
Wide open field. Okay.
Or this one. It would be honestly 360 feet. Probably going to go Honor. I do like this on a hyzer. If it was a little shorter, I'd probably go with Phoenix. And if there's wind, I would go Phoenix.
Okay. Let's say you have about a 280-foot forehand that you need to go pretty straight, and then it just needs to fall to the right.
It's not going to be a fairway. It's not. It's going to be
That's going to be a decent driver. Okay.
a fairway driver. 250 is the max.
Okay. So you have a 250-foot forehand that's got to go dead straight and then fall to the right.
I would throw this T-bird because that's how weak my forehand is.
Okay.
It may be the Honor. It certainly wouldn't be this.
Yeah.
I just don't throw forehands at that.
Yeah. So it sounds like the Firebird can just go ahead
I
and
think it can just go
walk
away.
its way over here,
Go
which is
away.
a bummer because it is the April Fool's Firebird.
It's a cool disc. It was a gift.
Yeah.
And
And you still have it on your shelf.
yeah, it's still there. It's we're just goodbye for now.
Yeah.
Maybe someday I'll
See
throw
you
a
soon.
forehand further.
So
The big issue here, as you can tell, is nothing's flippy.
Yeah.
that is fair, but but you know what disc you want to be flippy.
Yes.
So I think when you have a disc like your red Stalker, this is the Griffin disc argument that we've had all the time of if you have a Griffin disc, what happens if you lose it? So you can replace it with something. I think the nice thing is that you could put something else in that slot right now, and we can probably talk through like options that depending on how flippy you want to go, just to have it. What my suggestion would be is, since this is going to free space up in your bag anyways, would be get something that you know is actually pretty flippy already, so that you're not tempted to try to like get it to this point and then beat it in, so that you can keep throwing this. And let's say like, okay, you're playing doubles and Hunter throws first and he throws a good shot. So now you need to just try to make something work. You can try to make something work with your Stalker and keep that working down the line and trying to beat it in. But if like Hunter shanks it and you've got to make the shot happen, you have an actual flippy disc in your bag that you have no intention of having in long enough to actually see it beat in. So that's where I would look at like a Z Sting. I would look at
How flippy are we talking here?
No, it definitely needs to be flippy because, well, another thing, like realistically, one hole in my bag right now is that I don't have any fairways I can roll. None of those discs can roll for me. So I do need something I can roll fairway, because right now, if I want to throw a roller, I basically have to throw my honey, and then that's going to go really far.
Yeah. So
And I was playing around with the Leopard 3 for a while. I've always kind of been a Leopard guy, but I was just finding them a little too squirrely. I kind of like, the thing I liked about the Stalker is even when it was really flippy, it was still I want a disc that is flippy to where if I throw it flat, I know where it's going. But if I give it hyzer, it'll pop up and turn, but it's not like so flippy that it's just popping up and burning over. Like, I don't want it to be that crazy. Maybe I need one disc like that, but I need that disc that, like, I don't know. And like that TL was close, but it just didn't quite have enough turn. That's why I feel like I'm looking for such a delicate shot that I had with that Stalker, and I can't find it. I couldn't find it anywhere.
So have you tried the Rhythm?
No.
Okay, so Rhythm 7.5 -2 1. And the Rhythm, because I'm noticing, do you like the Envy's in the back, but that's the only gyro you have? Is there but you like the grip of gyro plastic? So is there something like inherently you're against gyro, or just most of the moles just don't seem to settle?
Honestly, my biggest qualm with gyro has nothing to do with the plastic. It's mostly to do with they are usually board flat. And so that is where I get held up, because it's like the Photon, for example, awesome disc, board flat. And I don't throw enough forehands to justify it in my bag.
That's
so
fair.
like that's where I usually, it's kind of why I like Mint, because it's like, it's good plastic, but it got a little dome to it.
Yeah.
So that's my biggest qualm with it. One of the reasons I like the Stalker and something I like in my fairways is it almost feels like a mid-range. this is they call this a 7-speed. It's really should be a 6. I do like a deeper, like more mid-rangey feel. So I think the Sting, I probably should try out the Sting, honestly, because it does kind of have that. Maybe like a zombie, something like that.
Yeah.
I think my recommendation would be Eternal Jackalope.
I also haven't really thrown. Now the Jackalope was in Hunter's bag for a while, and it was very flippy for him. So that might work in that slot, but I don't know that would necessarily work in like a just flip up the turn. I don't know. I haven't thrown it though.
I think you could also look at perhaps like a Crave or something like that. I'm not good enough with gyro plastic to tell you on Craves, especially. I know someone in the comments can probably tell you what like the flippiest Crave is, because I feel like the flippiest Crave would do what you're talking about of like, it's not just gonna fall out of the sky.
Yeah.
But you could put a roller down with it pretty fast, especially if you went with the lighter weight one. The reason I'm leaning toward the Rhythm is just because of that gyro, the effect of the gyro, where if you don't, you're going to get a 7-speed up speed every time. Like you have the arm speed, obviously, but you can throw it smoother and with less power and get a different flight out of it. And then when you want that roller, you can just yam on it. Or what Nathan said, give it the beans.
Give it the beans.
You can give it the beans and get that thing to burn over really fast. And I think the Rhythm, it's newer. So a lot of people are not giving it a chance because they have the Leopard 3s, they have the Stings, things like that. So as it competes, I think the Rhythm could fall in there. Honestly, I don't know what I would replace the Phoenix with, but I would just be curious, if you didn't have the Phoenix for a little while, how often are you coming back and being like,
I wish I had my Phoenix.
Yeah, I wish I had my Phoenix. Like, is it worth taking the Phoenix out and maybe in your distance drivers, like having something not as slippy as the Honey, but like, is there a distance driver option that you're like, I just literally don't have another?
My distance drivers are actually the one slot that is pretty well done right now, I would say.
Yeah.
The Phoenix, honestly, it's a weird one because I feel like at a lot of the courses around here, I maybe don't throw it as much, but when we went out west and when there were so many more open shots where I had the option to throw big hyzers and just like rip on it. I can rip on it flat and it just won't turn. That's where I was throwing it a lot out there.
Yeah.
That is the thing. Like the tough thing about, I play the same like 5 courses over and over and over again, and I throw the same discs on those holes over and over and over again. So sometimes it is weird. It's like I'm trying to develop a balanced bag, but at the same time, my bag is going to pretty much only be thrown on the same courses. So that is where it gets interesting. Not all the time, but
yeah. So I agree. I see.
But this needs some structuring for sure.
Yeah. Well, and I think once this beats in, I really do think if you add that like flippier fairway, that takes that replaces, we'll say that. And then this, it sounds like you don't need this disc.
No, it was like I put it in there. It was definitely like a forehand crutch disc, and I do that. I fall in love with this for like specific forehand or backhand purposes, and it really makes things interesting in the space in my bag.
It feels like the Honor really does what all 3 of those discs do.
I think it does. The Honor is honestly amazing. It's so good.
Yeah.
More
and is it? Yeah, I mean, it's
been used,
thrown,
and it is still plenty stable. I just threw it yesterday trying to flex it, and it didn't flex because it was so stable. And I was like, man, this thing is intense.
Yeah. So maybe that's also looking forward of like eventually you'll end up with another Honor in your bag.
I think I could
as a freshie, and it might be worth this. This is big play, but you being a guy that has lost frisbees and
I've done so,
been struggling because okay, well, what am I supposed to throw to replace that shot? Maybe it's just worth having a second Honor in the bag to give you more confidence of like, this guy is super, super stable. Like,
yeah, I might be. It's been a long time since I've had 2 of the same fairway in my bag. I don't know if I have 2 of anything in my bag right now. I gotta be honest with you. Other than those Rainmakers,
2 Raiders?
Yeah. Nope. I think I have not a second one of any single mold in my bag right now. And that's probably that's been a long time since that's been the case.
Before we jump to the distance drivers, what does a river do for a guy like you?
I threw the river whenever I was on Dynamic. the River is a really good disc. I haven't thrown one in a while. I honestly, yeah, I'd have to throw one again. I remember them being good. I'm trying to think if I really bagged one though. Honestly, the disc I probably need to give another shot in my bag that might work is that foundation pastry dyed Maverick I used to throw a lot.
Yeah.
I threw that in a bag for a video we shot a few weeks ago because I didn't have my main bag, and I threw it once and it flipped up more than I thought it did, and I was like, oh, because that disc for the longest time was pretty stable because it was like a Melton run that was like real stable.
Yeah.
I kind of need to give that another shot because it might be to the point now where it would fit in as like my slightly flippy disc. But I haven't thrown a River in a while because I was kind of throwing Mavericks. I also still have one of our Val Mandahano Mavericks that we ran that Hunter was throwing for a while. I might need to try the Maverick again too.
Rick is one that y'all threw very well.
Those are very different on depending on the plastic though. They are vastly different.
Yep.
But I think I do have some. I might have a River at.
I'm just wondering, is that too flippy for
No, it certainly isn't too flippy. I honestly, I feel like the last time I threw it, I thought to myself, wow, this is a really good disc, but then I didn't really have a slot for it. It's a disc that I've like been interested in using since I first started playing disc golf, really.
Because even for me, it's a pretty moldable disc as far as the line you can throw. I just wonder if that would fit really well on that bottom end, the understable end that you're looking for.
No, I should definitely give the River a look again.
I would implore you to find something a little flippier than you might naturally lean towards.
Yeah.
So that it gives
You
the
just throw it
stalker a chance to beat it.
Yeah. And I do like having like that very flippy slot. Like I had an it in my bag and I don't really know why it came out of my bag, to be honest. But I've missed having something that I can roll, that I can throw those like super hyzer to flip shots.
Yeah.
I love being able to cover those angles. I don't really know what happened to fairways. It got away from me.
I fell in love with the Vortex recently.
Yeah. Yeah. Any of those like super flippy ones. Yeah. The fairways just got away from me, but we're going to bring it back. We're going to reel it back in.
I'm going to leave them right here.
Yes, you can leave.
They're not
even going back.
They're not even going in.
Those can go in.
They are. If I feel hurtful in my soul to look at a Sexton Firebird sitting in front of me and say that it's not good, so it's not going in the bag.
Yeah. Well, we said if it's good, keep in the bag. We didn't say if it's bad, like throw it away.
That's fair.
Still keep
Yeah.
it.
Another time.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So distance drivers, which I just pulled out this Warbird and I just realized it's gotten a little warped.
A little warpy warp.
Pop that back in.
Yeah.
Anyways, my distance drivers are in a pretty good place right now.
Okay.
And by pretty good, I mean actually really good. So the flippiest is I'm still throwing the honey for the flippiest stuff.
A real honey, not a wild honey.
This is a real honey. This is before it became the wild honey,
Yeah.
which I have since thrown 2 wild honeys. One of them, I was like, oh, that surprisingly has some good stability. That's really nice. And the other one, I was like, oh, this is way too flippy. So apparently they come out in
A little bit of a
different types.
range.
But this one is my best roller disc. It is also, I throw forehands with it on hyzer and get it to push a ton because, like I said, I don't throw forehands far. And it can be used for just big hyzer flip distance shots as well. It's so good. Then I still have this hybrid Raider. It's been in my bag for the longest of any disc probably, and it is still so amazing. I've said this a million times about Trilogy Plastic, but yes, it seasons quickly, but then it stays forever. Like this disc has flown the same, I'm telling you, for a year probably. I can throw this for huge turnovers, or if I can still give this like not even a ton of hyzer, just like a good healthy amount of hyzer, and it'll just flip up to flat and maybe turn a little bit. Like it's still not. I can throw this on just about any line. If I give it enough hyzer, I can maybe even get it to hold. So this kind of really fills out the understable slot because this disc does so many things.
Yeah.
If I lose this disc, I am in trouble, and I have almost lost it. Shout out to Jason, he found it for me that one time. This disc is special. So this disc is a Wraith that I found not long ago. It was already beat in a bit, and I have been on the search for a good Wraith for the longest time now. Trying to find one that comes out in good star, and it's actually an F2 now that I'm looking at the stamp underneath
Die
there.
job, yeah.
Yeah. And I wanted one that I could just pop up the flat and it would go straight, and that's what this does. This disc, I can throw it hard on hyzer. It just pops up a little more stable than the Raider. Really comfortable for forehands. it's a good Wraith. So this is a pretty well-rounded. Then you get into like more of the overstability, and that starts with this Cloudbreaker. This is the new Golden Horizon one. Yeah, very pretty disc. This disc I threw not expecting to like want to bag it or anything, but it like had way more give than I thought it would. And I was like, oh, this actually works. Like you can throw it hard on hyzer and get it to pop up a little bit. If you throw it with Annie, you can get a big turn. Like you can get huge distance out of it. So it actually fits. It works. It's more stable than these discs, but not quite as stable as the next step up, which is this Destroyer that I've also had in my bag for a long time.
Yeah.
This is probably my favorite distance driver, honestly. It's just been very reliable. It's still got plenty of stability, but it's starting to get more glide. I had a Destroyer in my bag for a long time previous to this one that I got to the point where it actually flipped up. This one's not like flipping up the flat or anything, but it definitely glides, and I throw this disc a ton. And then most overstable, I'm sticking with the Warbird, the slightly warped Warbird. This is the Chandler Kramer one, but I've since thrown other Warbirds, and they all fly the same to me. They
is that Bravo or Alpha?
This one is
or Founders.
I'm not even sure. So this is a run that they did kind of early on, and I have yet to really feel many that come out as stiff as this one did. I found a few that are kind of like it, but in any case, the Warbird is just super overstable. And I beat this one into the point where I can push it a little bit, but it's still like I love throwing forehands with this one and just giving it a ton of angle, and it fights out of it. Like it is, I love the Warbird. It is amazing. I tried so long trying to find really overstable Destroyers or Forces or stuff. And then like it was made so simple for me with the Warbird. It is replaceable. This is like a disc like the Quake that like I'm just so psyched about because I know that the stock version of this disc is just good.
Money.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm in a good place with the distance drivers right now.
I do agree. I think that if there was a spot that it feels like there's a bit of a jump, I would say it feels like it's either from the Raider to the Wraith, or that these are really similar.
They're very similar.
And that it's the jump from the Honey to the Raider.
If you were to go like based on just purely the numbers of stability, it's probably the Honey to the Raider, but there's just not a shot that fits in between that I can't throw with those two discs.
Yeah.
And I've said this with distance drivers before, but the two discs that are closest to each other are the Wraith and the Raider, but that's because that's the disc that I also throw the most. So therefore, if I lost one mid-round, I would have an option.
Okay.
Because I think the most important disc in your bag, especially when it comes to like, I throw distance driver probably more than anything else off the tee.
Yeah.
So the disc that I'm going to throw the most in any round is probably my most popular distance driver, and that's the Raider. And therefore, I want something similar to that to be able to back it up. So yeah, that's where we're living with the distance drivers, and that's in a good spot right now, and it's also a good spot. Now, I will say this Destroyer would be a little bit annoying to replace just because it has a bit of seasoning on it, but not super difficult. And then like obviously these two are the replacement issues. The Raider and the Wraith there would be not fun to replace.
Yeah. So I think with these coming out, it is that flippy Fairway fills one of those slots, and then truly a second Raider or something like that.
Yeah, it might be. I used to throw multiple Raiders because like a fresh Raider is such a good disc. They're not like super overstable, but they have more stability to them. So yeah, it honestly might be wise for me to put a second one in.
And even if it beats in, because I mean, as we've said on this podcast, this exact episode, they beat in super fast. So it could be you just beat one in, and as soon as you realize like, okay, it's set, it comes back out of the bag, a fresh one goes in or something like that. That way, if something were to happen to Mr. Orange,
we'll lose Mr. Orange eventually.
Like,
shout out to
you're
Alex
already
Bush.
set up.
Gave me that one. I need more.
Yeah. I think really the key is for me at least, having backups of especially Griffin discs, things like that. Why I love to try to season another one in isn't not because I'm running away from the beauty of this Orange Raider, from that like super special disc. I actually feel like I become so much of a better player because I'm stepping up to tricky holes And even if I know, oh man, I don't want to put this raider on the line. I don't want to put this pig on the line. But you know what? I have a backup for it. And it is the disc for this shot.
Mm-hmm.
Let's send it.
Yeah.
Because I feel like we probably live in a similar place of I'm not really emotionally attached to a lot of discs in my bag. And even the few that I am attached to, at the end of the day, I know what it takes to get another disc seasoned to that spot.
Sure.
So I'm not so afraid to, and we play a lot more disc golf than everyone else does. So it takes us a little less time to beat in a Frisbee. But having that backup, the confidence, I cannot tell you. Like I have 2 full disc boxes worth of pigs at home, and all my pigs are not even in there. But one of them is brand new pigs, and then the other is like a season. It's like a grill of pigs where I can just tell you how long each of them. Yeah. It's cooking up. So that would be our bag suggestion. I guess really it comes down to I'm going to be very curious what that fairway slot you end up with.
Yeah, there's going to be some searching for sure.
And let us know in the comments. What would you suggest throwing in this? Because most of you have watched Trevor play a lot.
It's been a tough search because I was literally like in disc golf stores on the West Coast, like just panning through the U section, just like show me a beat up T-bird or something. Like I just couldn't find anything. That TL was the closest thing I could find, and it just didn't work.
It also may be too flippy, but I don't know why more people aren't throwing this. If talking Lone Star, the Dome by Lone Star.
I have not thrown the Dome.
I
probably have once.
Fascinating. Super, super interesting disc. And I went to it when you said, oh man, I lost super beat it. Yeah. I was searching through disc boxes because when we played Maple Hill in March, we played Pyramids before, and I had a flippy Sting that I knew I was going to be using at Maple Hill. There are hills. Just one hill.
Hills.
At the hill of Maple, and I could not find a Sting in their shop and at Marshall Street, and I was like,
I honestly might give the Sting because that's like your thing right now.
I like the Sting.
I like more than I like finding a good disc. I like finding a good club to be a part of.
Yeah.
So
the Sting Club is, guys, some of you are not a part of it, and when I say some of you, I mean honestly most of you, because I was part of the crew that was like,
why are we throwing the? What about the Archer? The difference.
I would say the Archer is flippier.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
The Z Sting is like pretty good. It's got a good amount of glide. The ESP Sting, you hit that thing and it is immediately just fresh off the shelf.
Okay.
So the beauty is if you want that easy roller, ESP is going to be beauty for you. But you want a usable roller, Z Sting.
Fair enough.
So
I'll be interested.
Awesome. Well, speaking of stings, and we're talking stings, we talked a lot of plastic.
We did.
What's new in the warehouse, Brad?
All right. So this week it'll be fun. So you all will be listening to this after our 100K situation. So there may be 0 discs left in the warehouse. You're just going to have to check recently restocked and check the website. Yeah. But I know this week we got a lot of MVP. Our back order finally showed up. So we've got glitches, we've got hexes, we've got paradox, viruses, insanities, servos. We haven't had servos in a long time. We have servos. So there's a lot of MVP going up this week. We also have Trilogy dropping. We have actually restock on this confetti judges that you just destroyed earlier.
They're not wrong with them. It just wasn't the judge that I wanted.
They're not the judge for Trevor. But
if you throw hyzer flips, it's an incredible.
Would you call yourself a noodle arm? Would you call yourself someone who loves to get easy distance?
For Hunter, if Hunter needed a perfect judge, it would be the confetti one because he could throw it on his hyzer and it would pop up dead straight.
Yeah.
That's just the reality.
Those are getting restocked. I think
it's a party.
It's a party.
And I forget, I don't know, the plastic I'm blanking on, but
we got that.
Warships.
We got the new trilogy, the Tour Series stuff, didn't we?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Zach Melton. Not the Raptor Eye Zach Melton, but the sort of Raptor Eye.
If it's new plastic coming from Trilogy, I'm going to guess Orbit Warships. But
it's not an Orbit, it's a swirl, actually, which will be, they're going to be pretty
Fusion, Burst, Lucid, Ice,
Raptor Eye,
Chameleon, Warships.
Yeah. But yeah, those are in there. we're crossing our fingers again that we're filming this earlier in the week. We might have some special disc craft by the end of the week.
Potentially.
So we'll see. You'll know Friday again.
Recently restocked.
Yeah, check out recently restocked. Also, subscription boxes are still a few left for this month. Make sure you check those out. Thank you for those of you who left notes on yours that you purchased last weekend that said Robbie and I sent you. We appreciate that.
Yeah.
Don't want to miss this month. The swag item is awesome. And then let me just tell you, the next couple months are going to be unreal. So jump on the ship. We're talking about ships. Jump on the ship now. It's the time to do it. And hey, and please leave in the notes that In the Bag sent you. We love to see that.
Yeah. And I will say, if you're in the boat like Trevor, of you know what you're looking for, but you don't know what you're looking for, one beautiful option, the foundation care.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, try some discs out. I mean, we have those popping through every day. It's a great way, like Rob was saying, to try out different, pick up 3 or 4 fairways and see what you like. If there's one you're really unsure about, make sure you purchase foundation care on that. Or it's so cheap you can purchase it on all of them and just see what you like and keep that one.
Absolutely. Well, Trevor, thanks for coming on.
Of course.
Two-time.
Two-timer.
I feel like I want to make.
See you next year, guys.
Yeah, I want to make an SNL type vibe of like the 5-timer coats and all that.
Yeah.
That way people they're hunting for it. So
goodness.
Maybe we'll do a golden double G hat
Oh my goodness.
for that.
You listening, Ted?
Yeah, just stiff.
You hear that, Ted?
yeah. Awesome. Well, guys, if you find your flippy fairway, or you're like, man, I love the beef. I love ESP zones. You find something good. What do you do, Brad?
Keep in the bag. We'll see y'all next time.